Welcome to Ride Forever. With over 450,000 motorcyclists on the road in New Zealand, we wanted to find out just how much people know about how to handle a bike on our roads. More importantly, we wanted to get 3 riders together to tackle 3 different riding environments and see how it changes the way they ride. And to entice our riders a little more, we're offering up a fantastic prize of a whole selection of new riding gear to whoever we think gets the most out of this little experiment. So, without further ado, here are our 3 riders. Meet Dan. 26 years old, he's been riding for 6 years now, has a restricted licence and hits the streets on a 250 Bandit.
I am nervous, just learning new things and just making sure I do correct it to the best of my ability. I see the next couple of days as being, a bit of a learning curve for me, and with the other guys here, I hope to learn quite a lot about group riding.
Our second rider, Jamie's been on his bike for over 25 years now and worked as a motorcycle courier in Auckland and in London.
Riding as a motorcycle courier, you learn a lot of skills dealing with traffic, dealing with unexpected things. I maybe ride a little closer or fit myself through gaps that maybe wouldn't otherwise, but as a rule, my riding's relatively safe.
Well, relatively speaking, our next rider, Pete, is definitely the most experienced of the 3, with over 30 years riding under his belt. Pete works in the motorcycle sales industry and used to race both motocross and road bikes.
40 years of age now, I'm enjoying riding Harleys and just kicking back and relaxing. It's a lot of fun. Luckily, I work in a Harley-Davidson dealership and they're good enough to let me have one. No matter how long you've been riding bikes, there's always something to learn. It's always good to have someone else's input, someone else's perspective. I'd hope that I might have a little bit of bike knowledge I can share with the other 2 guys as well.
The guys' first test is navigating through the capital city's busy streets, but first they'll have to get kitted up. Now remember, our riders don't just have to wear the ordinary motorcycle safety gear that you'd expect. They also have to contend with several cameras mounted all over their bikes so that our 3 expert judges can watch their every move. We've chosen 3 guys who don't just know the rules, they live, breathe, eat and sleep motorcycling, and are here to see just how much Dan, Pete and Jamie really know. Our first judge, Wayne Christie, has been riding for 45 years now and has risen the ranks to become the Police National Motorcycle Instructor. Mike O'Donnell has ridden all over the world and is a passionate adventure motorcyclist. When he's not touring, he's a motorcycle journalist and currently runs Trade Me Motors. Jim Furno's been riding for over 40 years, and as the National Manager of Driver Licensing Standards, he knows exactly what Dan, Pete and Jamie should know when they get on their bikes. With the cameras rolling, the boys are off for a trip around Wellington City during the busy lunchtime rush. Remember, Jamie's got years of experience navigating through traffic as a motorcycle courier and naturally takes the lead.
Yeah, it's a perfect day. I can't wait to get out of town.
It's like I say, you're in Wellington now, not Auckland. It's like this regularly.
Yeah, it kind of depends on your definition of regular, though. Yeah, it's all getting a little busier now.
Yeah, we're on a bus route, so it does tend to take a bit of time to get around.
Interesting to see, we've got 1 white helmet, nobody's wearing any reflective vests.
Yeah, black may be the new black, but it's no good for standing out to all the people in cars.
Are you allowed to use the bus lanes for motorbikes in Wellington?
The perennial question.
Yeah.
You can actually use them in certain hours.
So, are there any rules on using the bus lanes in Auckland?
Yeah, you're anyone but the motorways, but you can use all the Auckland bus lanes. You can access the motorbikes.
Well, bus lanes can be used by motorcyclists at certain times of the day. Signage says they can be. There's certain times of the days that they shouldn't be used as well.
Okay, just a quick reminder about those bus lanes. Each city does have its own rules and it's best to check in with your local city council before you use them. So far so good with our 3 riders, but what happens when we put the boys through some real Wellington traffic congestion?
That's interesting.
Pretty tight overtaking there. Not a lot of indication going on there that I saw.
No.
No, there's not.
Certainly none here.
This feathering now, coming right down and putting yourself in the intersection over the limit lines.
Yeah, but look at this.
Is a no-no, and that's a no-no also.
Look how tight that turn is.
What is it about riding a Harley that makes you into a cowboy? I don't know. But, you know, it literally looked like a large horse being wheeled in and out of that traffic, you know.
Yep. And it was a very awkward turn.
The rule of thumb that I use for that is if you've got 2 lanes of stationary traffic, nobody in front of you, I do filter up to the front, stay back from the line, go nice and carefully. If there's somebody already in that spot on a motorcycle, then stay the hell away, because if you get stuck in there, you've got nowhere to go.
Pete's lane changing isn't the only issue of concern for the judges. Keep your eye on the gold Honda Odyssey.
Down there, right?
Odyssey's coming alongside.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, you are a tool, mate. Tool.
You can't quite see what it is that goes wrong. Has the guy seen him or not, I don't really know. But by the same token, to yell at him just pisses the guy off. And what's that going to do?
Exactly. And looking at that clip there, when he pulled up into that lane, he was right to the left-hand side of the lane, and the car who pulled up on his right may have had ample room to do so. If
he'd been commanding the centre of the lane, that vehicle couldn't have got down beside him.
I think that's absolutely right. You know, you see a lot of motorcyclists, particularly ones starting out, who will go across to the far left thinking that they're being courteous and they're being safe. In fact, what they create is a lack of clarity in the people behind them, where they want them to pass them or put alongside or what have you. I think by being in the centre of the road in a city riding, you do create a definite zone that is your safety zone.
That's right.
And also the fact that he was on a Harley Davidson just makes it worth, you know.
Harley riders, I mean, you come to expect that, don't you?
Of course, through city streets, it's not just other traffic that you have to look out for.
There's people around here just stepping out on the road, so keep your eyes peeled. If it looks like they're going to cross, there's a good chance they will.
But just a few minutes later...
Watch that pedestrian, mate.
Straight through the pedestrian crossing.
And a few more minutes after that...
Sorry guys, I just went straight through the pedestrian there.
Yeah, this is not good.
Now, this is where I feel Jamie's had a brain fart.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's had a total lack of concentration.
Definitely.
Not seeing that pedestrian is like coming into an intersection and blatantly going through a red light and, oh, sorry, I've gone through a red light, I didn't see these cars here. If there's a central island or raised island in the middle of the road, that means if the pedestrian's on your right, on the opposite side of that island, you can actually freely go through. However, if there's no raised island, you must stop until the actual pedestrian is actually past you.
Is that how it works, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
Their ride through the city is just about over, but not before we can throw one more obstacle at them.
Whoa. Well, I don't think he saw me.
I had a strange feeling he was going to do that.
He was in a good position himself, close to the centre line, and he chose to do an avoidance method, which was just to swing out to the right to avoid. But you got to, in my mind, be prepared to do the swing out and to avoid and also come to a stop.
Interestingly, Dan's reaction was to hit the gas. He swerved, but you could hear the revs go up on that 250.
I think, Jim, you know, your point's a good one. He's the youngest guy and the least experienced and potentially has the most testosterone floating through his system. When there's a potential hazard like that, rather than being more cautious, you know, drop it down a cog and let it go and get past it. You know, it's a more aggressive attitude, and sometimes that aggression can buy you trouble.
So, some mixed results through the city. Pete's lane changing and road rage certainly surprised the judges, while Jamie riding through 2 pedestrian crossings is not the sort of thing we'd expect from a motorcycle courier. Dan, on the other hand, has been relatively steady through the city. Let's see what happens when we put him in the lead as the boys head out to the open road.
Hey guys, when the next opportunity arises, I'm going to overtake this car in front of us. Seems to be a bit over the road and I feel uncomfortable sitting behind her.
Well, we can probably do it now.
Okay guys, I'm going to overtake this car, okay?
Watch the oncoming car, man.
This is interesting because, watch this. Here he goes.
Watch the oncoming car, man.
Bang, bang, down 2 gears. He'd already spoken about getting ready to overtake, and it wasn't until the last minute that he changed down.
And he's on the smallest displacement bike to do that on.
Right.
Bloody 250s.
Can't keep up, eh?
No, you're just holding me up.
Yeah, you know, on the one hand, Pete may have been a little bit impolite, hassling him about the 250. On the other hand, Pete's actually got a pretty good point.
Yes.
When you've only got 250 cc's worth of power or torque, you should use that really carefully, and you shouldn't make immediate demands on that engine, because it's not going to respond. You can't expect it to. So, yeah, I think Pete's probably actually got a pretty good point.
Looks like the old pace is increasing a little bit here.
Yeah,
They're doing a fair flip.
Along the straight.
Feel the power.
Look at this, straight up the left-hand
Up the
side.
left-hand
Now,
side.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
And, yeah, well.
Hello.
Yeah, just saying, take it easy.
And now we've slowed right down.
I wasn't, sir.
I mean, it's classy, isn't it? Young guy on a bike on the open road, going fast, passes the older guys on the bigger bikes because he thinks he can. Cop comes along, he's the first guy on the end, just whoa!
Yep.
And the other guys sail past him.
Not good, but passing on the left is not a good thing to do, especially when you're in a group situation like that, because Pete could have moved for something that Dan couldn't see, and all of a sudden his line's blocked.
Yep.
And you've got two riders down.
Yep.
It's time for the boys to cross the Rimataka Hills, a challenging set of corners for even the most experienced riders.
There we go. A great training ground as the Rimatakas.
Oh, yes.
Okay, hey guys, there's a passing lane come up. How about we overtake this full drive and
Sounds like a good idea.
cool.
So he's talking about what he's going to do, but he's not changing down, is he?
Once again, quite a nasty off-camber corner coming up here.
Cheers, mate. I'll keep that in mind. Oh, it is a bit of a nasty one, eh? Right, here I go, mate.
Ooh.
Why is he looking backwards going through a corner on the Rimatakas?
See what I mean?
Terrible.
He actually looked around while he was entering the apex of the corner, and he's looking here, looking there. I think he's more worried about what the other people are thinking about him than he is concentrating on getting through the corner. Early tip-in, early apex, and he runs out of room.
Yep. Well, in my mind, he's going too quick for the corner, and he's not looking for his vanishing point. He's looking into his apex, which in my mind is a no-no. You should be looking forward at the vanishing point.
Yeah.
And that way it'll make it smooth through the corner.
You know, one single rule on motorcycles, if there was one rule, look where you want to go.
Yep.
Look where you want to go.
It's a classic.
And invariably, you will go where you look.
Exactly.
So if there's a hazard, a big bloody truck, you look at the truck, bang, you're going to hit it.
Yeah. See, the other thing here, again, he's on that 250. He didn't really get himself prepared to overtake. He knew he was going to do it. He was talking about it. But then he leaves it to the very last minute, screws the thing on, and then he's got to wind it off again because he's carrying too much speed. Again, he's looking for speed, he's not looking for acceleration.
Okay, Dan, it's probably about time you moved that baby over and I'll maybe lead the way downhill. It's a bit hard to slow one of these things up when you're pointing downhill.
Sad but true.
Fair enough, mate. I'm just going to move over to your left and you can take over.
Hey guys, I think I have seen a slight sign of some diesel spillages, as I mentioned before, so just keep an eye out for them.
Cheers, mate. Will do. And let you know if I spot any on the way too.
He's getting
Now
a bit
he's
far
right on the centre
right
line,
close to the
right
centre line.
to the centre line, which is a good position for a left-hander.
Yep.
Entering,
Yep.
and a good position once again next to that right-hander.
He's quite smooth. Look, there's Dan.
Yeah.
He's got one arm off the bar, looking down, looking at something he's driven over.
Yeah. He's always
That's a
looking
good
left-hand side.
position from for a left-hander there.
Pete's looking pretty smooth there, actually.
Yep.
Cool.
I love Pete's line of sight there, you know. You see he's
Yep.
always looking where he's going, he's looking through.
Yes,
And
exactly.
it's beautiful to watch.
So, Pete's experience is really showing and obviously impressing the judges. As they broke for a quick pit stop in Martinborough, Pete decided to give Dan a few pointers on how to handle a few of those tough Rimataka corners.
OK, Dan, if you remember when up at the hill before when we were on the Rimatakas, especially that off-camber corner that caught you out a wee bit?
Oh yeah, is that on the way up, was it?
Yeah. It is a tricky corner, no doubt, but I think you'll find it a little bit easier if you start the turn in a little bit later than you are. Like if it's a right-hand turn, for example, you're coming in too early, too tight, and then on the way out you're having to run way too wide and end up using, all the road, and you might end up running out of road. Whereas if you hold on to the wide line first and hold it wider later, you can then cut across the apex. You got a lot more room exiting the corner. You're on the way out, and it gives yourself a whole lot more room, a little bit more vision through the corner. You can see what's coming through the corner a little bit safer. It's definitely easier for you to do it that way.
Oh, cool. So on the way back, I'll follow your riding pattern on the way up, and if not, Jamie's.
Yeah, Jamie's doing it. Yeah. All good, and carpet it up smooth.
Yeah, it's good though. It's a good trip. I've learned a bit too, actually. I probably stay a bit too close to the centre line sometimes. Those big trucks coming up through there. Yeah, they're definitely they're wide vehicles.
They're on our side of the road. The Arctics. They have to turn so wide, don't they?
Yep.
That's all pretty good.
Yeah, I've learned a lot on the ride and enjoyed it. It's been good.
After a short breather, Pete takes the lead heading out onto the country roads.
OK, guys, you may notice it's starting to rain. Obviously, it's getting a bit heavier. Just bear in mind, watch those white lines and the shiny patches of tar seal where the tar's bled to the surface.
Good call.
Yeah, definitely. Excellent call.
Yeah, and I noticed the cattle trucks were leaving a bit of manure around as well. That stuff's mighty slippery.
Don't mind me if I go to the middle of the road more than normal. It's just trying to stay on the rough bitumen instead of the smooth polished patches in the tyre tracks.
Good to see all those headlights on when it gets a bit dimmer.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice visibility.
Sheep guys, just be aware of that.
Yeah, that can cause some havoc.
Dead, road girl.
Good spotting, mate.
You guys see that hawk back there on a piece of roadkill? Sometimes they get their talons stuck in it and they can't take off and get out of the way,
I don't know about you guys, but if I'm on the start of a train in this roadkill, I'll either pull out a leg or go like that so the other people can see it and avoid it, because they won't be able to see it for your bike.
Yep, quite often ride, just sort of point down like that with your left hand or whatever.
OK, guys, out of the coast here, looks like a pretty good place to stop and have a bit of a rest, so we'll pull up and do just that.
Sounds good.
Nice spot.
So, how do the guys think the judges will respond to their riding ability?
I'd hate to think what the judges will make of me, but hopefully haven't done anything too drastically wrong.
I do have a good riding ability. There are patches where I can improve just with the cornering and just with riding in groups. I mean, I haven't done it before and learned a great deal with this experience.
There's a few habits I have which I have to think about a little more, I think. I tend to follow a little close. I tend to sit quite close to the outside lane, to the white line. So, yeah, all in all, it's not too bad, but yeah, there's a few things that I certainly have learned.
Well, that's interesting.
Peter, he's demonstrated some good technique and good skills, and I would classify him as the better of the three riders by far. However, he's got some old habits that he's going to have to look at, I believe, and that's his lane changing and his road rage. They are concerned to me.
You look at Pete looking through a corner, braking before the corner, the braking's all out of the way, he's getting the right position, he's looking through, he's powering through. That's all, to me, shows a reasonably advanced rider. Whereas Jamie, I don't know, I think he's competent, but I don't see any classy touches of riding style.
There's not a consistency there which needs to be, and that shows even in the city riding. I mean, to go through with those pedestrians already on the crossing right in front of them, and the little things like that, his, risk recognition and scanning ahead, it just wasn't.
And as a courier driver, a rider, you would expect that that's the sort of thing he would be looking at for, because that's what he's used to.
That's right.
And I think Dan, he's got a bunch of things that he can fine-tune there. He's riding a small displacement, high-revving bike. He needs to use it more like a rapier. Yeah. He needs to pick his line carefully. He needs to get his braking right. He's got to fine-tune all those throttle brake clutch movements.
This will be the interesting thing is, after all this, what are these guys actually going to do with the things that they think that they need? They'll all come up with something that they think that they've learnt, but will they actually do it the day after tomorrow?
So we've seen some interesting things on the first day of riding, both in the city and on the open road. Today, we thought we'd take them off the road and put them on the track to get instruction from none other than former world champion rider Aaron Sleight. Aaron's had an incredible career as one of the world's leading motorcycle competitors. So yeah, you could say he knows a thing or two about riding a bike.
Meeting these three guys today, I think it's going to be very, very good to get to the racetrack because it is comparable to being on the street. The racetrack is a real safe place to play. You know, you learn a lot about riding motorbikes, and you learn a lot about the skill it takes to ride a motorbike. You learn a lot about your motorbike. There's a lot of advertising around now on what not to do. You know, it's not what to do here in this situation, what to do here in the other situation. What I like to portray today is to what to do. You know, we need someone telling us what is the right thing to do. It's time to get started, but before the boys can even think of speeding off, Aaron decides to give them all a quick introduction to track riding.
Okay guys, we're just heading out on the racetrack. The first thing I like to do when I get on the racetrack is just to have a bit of a look around, just to acclimatise yourself with what's going on, familiarise yourself with the racetrack. Also have a look out for any debris. Yeah, you never know if there's a bit of rubber left over from car racing. Like heading into this corner here, a few stones on the outside, lucky enough they're not on line, so we just stay under those. Heading out of the corner. One of the other things I like to do when I go around the racetrack is just to have a look at marker points. Yeah, you might be able to use them later on. So we're heading up into here. See, there's a drain that goes across the track, different colour seal right there. Maybe later we can use it as a break point. And then we're going to come in here, we're going to clip the apex. Even that little piece of blue paint sticking out there, that might be an apex point. On the way out, going over another drain just over here. Yeah, we can use all these points later on when we get going a bit faster. So heading down the middle straight here, back down to the hairpin. Still looking around, we haven't done a complete lap yet, so it's just a good idea just to even to look for an escape route even. Come into the hairpin here, if you outbrake yourself, what are you going to do? You put a turn in, then you stand the bike up and run straight on. And then you remember not to brake on that lime at the outside of the track because it's not sealed anymore. Heading out of the hairpin, once again looking for markers because it's a big wide corner here and you're going to get a bit lost because there's going to be a double apex. So we'll sort of turn in these two skid marks here, turning in, bring the bike back down, probably going to clip the apex on that joint of the seal, and that's a lap.
Great for all the bikers just to, in slow motion, be like a snake behind Aaron on that run. I think it's pretty useful.
Exactly, and also the speed doesn't have to be great. You know, you've got to do these things at a slow speed. If you do them slowly, the fast things will take care of themselves.
Now we're going to split the riders up and see how they perform individually on the track. First up, it's Jamie, who reckons the track is the perfect way to push your bike to its limit.
I think it gives you the opportunity to find out how your bike performs if you're pushing it a little bit, so which you can use on the road. You know how hard you can brake and what sort of lean angles you can do. So if you get yourself in trouble, you can actually, you know where you're at.
It'd be interesting to see if his complacent attitude on the road carries across to the track.
Yeah, it will be.
Okay, Jamie, we're just getting out on the racetrack now, so just ease into it, take it really easy on these opening laps. Remember what we talked about before, you just want to have a good look around, make sure there's no debris, make sure you know where the track goes, and then we'll just get faster and faster and faster.
Excellent. So I'll start off for really, really slow and finish up just plain slow.
You'll be right, but remember you've got to warm the bike up too. You're not only going to have yourself warmed up, but tyres are cold, brakes are cold, engine oil cold, and also your forearms and yourself is very, very cold.
Comments about warming up is absolutely right. Both the bike and the rider need to warm up. Yep. Tyres, oil, and you need to relax a little bit. You know,
tyres especially, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, we completed a lap now, so we're just getting a bit more warmed up. So we'll just increase the pace a little bit more and just slowly work on that. But remember your lines. Try and make all your apexes because if you miss one apex, that stuffs up the next one. Right. So it's all about being smooth and fast.
Alright, so I'm looking for my braking markers and my turn-in point.
Down here, that braking marker about now. and the turning point about now. Yeah, I think your turning point before was just a little too late at this low speed. Just turn a little bit earlier.
Okay, I'll get that on the next one. The hairpins I always find a bit tricky.
Yeah. Start to straight line it now to the half track. Then slide it right down, drop it on its side, clip the curb, now squeeze it out of there, out to 3/4 track. Perfect.
After a few more laps, Jamie decides to push himself a little faster. Maybe even too fast.
On the brakes, tipping point now. Let the bike run out wide, out the other end. That's it. Yeah, there's some nice lines. That's really good. You're not so fast on these bumps. Slow down for these bumps. You're not too quick. That's it. Squeeze it open. Just watch these bumps. I think you should keep the corner speed down. It is an obstacle. The bumps are there. Just slow it down here, over the bumps, and then increase the speed. Then squeeze the throttle open. Yeah. You're still scaring me a little bit how confident you are over those bumps by the vans. Just in that left-hand corner, slow it down for the bumps, then squeeze the throttle open after it. Don't try to carry too much corner speed over the rough part of the track.
That's an interesting comment, isn't it? You're scaring me. I mean, this guy's a world superbike rider and he's being scared by somebody going over these bumps. Yeah. And yet he's not throttling off.
That's right, and that is frightening because you get that gut feeling this person is about to outride his ability.
Yep.
But overall, I mean, I see him starting to pick up some nice lines. Yep. I see him starting to execute a bit nicer.
Yes.
Yep.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
So maybe Jamie needs to push his bike just a little less. Next up, it's Dan, whose nerves are starting to show.
Haven't ridden on a track before, but looking forward to it today. Corner's going to be quite good, and looking forward to learning with Aaron on how to take a corner quite nicely. I mean, I'm not nervous of making a dick of myself. It's going to happen anyway, somewhere. But you can only learn from your experience, I guess.
Well done.
Yep.
Well done, Dan.
After you, Dan.
Thanks, mate.
Okay, we're heading out of the track. It's just like heading down a road. You better check out what's going on. You check out if it's wet, dry, any debris anywhere.
So is this where you start getting like familiar with the bike and start, you know, just making sure you're warmed up and everything like that?
Yeah, exactly. Just warm the tyres up. Don't really worry too much about the line at the moment if you don't want to. Just a good look around so you know where you are.
Dan, obviously, of the three, is the one that we've seen experiencing the greatest challenges when it comes to braking and clutch throttle brake. I think potentially he might find it the hardest to take instruction here.
Okay, now we've done a lap. Just try and get onto the line where you think the line is, and we'll work on that.
Dan's still pretty straight up and down.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to be confident in leaning that bike over.
And into our next left-hander up here, the fast left, there's those really bad bumps with the joint in the seal. So what I like to do here is just, you come around, and as you go over those bumps, you're actually off the gas just before it, and then just squeeze the gas open a little bit as you go over the bump so the weight's not on the front wheel. So right here, just squeeze open the gas so you haven't got all the weight on the front tyre.
That's quite good, eh? It feels a lot better.
Yeah, if you're going off the gas, you get all the weight on the front tyre and then it'll push on the bump real bad.
Yeah, that's good. You do want to unload that front wheel.
Yes.
Yeah. He's still not clipping the apex there, is he? I mean, no. He's probably a little bit tighter on the apexes than Jamie, but he's still far from clipping the apex.
Yeah. And this is the good thing about a track. This is where he can explore the limits of the lean of the bike.
Exactly.
And at this stage, it doesn't appear as though he's actually doing that to the same degree as the other guys are.
Okay, here we go, down here. Now just look at your markers. So we'll get out of this corner here and we'll head down to the next one. Remember those white marks on the side of the road? There was 3 of them sticking out. So at the first white mark that's sticking out, we apply the brakes. And here it comes, here's a white mark, apply the brakes, yeah. Second white mark, third one out, tip in. That's it. Tip in, apex, use all the track on the way out. Good one, that's it. Excellent.
That felt quite good, that corner, eh?
With Dan, I get the feeling that his mind is absolutely on the job, but he's a bit uptight.
Yeah.
I mean, I reckon he should go and get an aromatherapy massage, something like that, relax completely, and then do it again and again and again, and relax into it. I think maybe having, you know, the world-famous Aaron Slate on his shoulder is tensing him up a little bit. He needs to just relax and do it again and again and again.
As a sensitive new age guy, which particular aroma would you recommend?
Aaron may have heard the judge's comment about Dan needing to loosen up. Check out this little candid on-track moment.
Just a group hug.
I think the last thing Dan was expecting was a little mid-course hug from a former world champion.
Yeah.
That's enough of that, all right? We're on the track.
Sorry to take your mind off the job.
Can we cut that one out, guys?
No.
And it's nice to see your riding position. You've got your balls of your feet on the foot pegs. It's a really good place. Have your balls of your feet, not the arch of your feet, because then you can sort of dance around on the foot pegs and move your weight around, which is really good. A lot of people sit there with their arch of their feet and they can't move around on the bike at all.
Now, I unfortunately, I disagree with Aaron relating to the feet on the actual foot pegs. The feet should be in the arches, and so they're close to the use of the gear lever and the brake, particularly for road riders or the average road rider. For what he's saying here on the track, I think it's ideal because he is actually in the position to easily move his seat, as he says, to the left and to the right.
Yep.
But we do not want a person who's just on a 250 on a learner licence or restricted licence trying this sort of technique around the streets. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot about the track that could be transferred to the road. This one is something that certainly isn't. If you need to stop, you want your quickest possible reaction time. If that means you've got to lift your foot up, move it forward and get it on the brake as opposed to just tap your toe down,
That's time
then
wasted.
that's potentially 75 metres of space.
That's right,
Definitely.
and you're gone.
And just watch these stones on the outside here.
You nearly got caught on them last time.
Yeah, I was trying to distract you. Here's those marks, brake, third mark, tip in. Use the road on the way out, use it over there, yep, that's it.
Dan seems to have taken to the track pretty well. Let's see what happens when Pete gets out there. And now remember, Pete used to race motocross and road bikes and is certainly no stranger to the track.
I've done a lot of road racing on various types of bikes. But when you're here at a track, you know, especially with someone like Aaron Slate, obviously you're always going to learn something. I mean, he's Aaron Slate, you know, so I mean, it doesn't matter how good you think you are or how much time you've done on the track, there's always something to learn.
Pete's got a good attitude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, this is the first time I've been to this track and ridden round, and so when I go to a new circuit, I look for sort of an out plan. Like down there into the hairpin, I'm looking ahead and I can see a lime road. So if I outbrake myself, I've got an out plan. It's a bit like riding on the road. I'm always riding within myself and you know, have a little bit left, so if something happens I can swerve in time or actually apply the brakes and make a manoeuvre. If someone's going to pull out in the car, I can look for a clear bit of road to pull over and go around them, or brake hard enough to miss the car. So the circuit's very, very similar to the road. You're always looking and mindful of things around you.
Pete's clearly looking through the corner already.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. You can see the difference in the way he's looking and what we saw with Dan.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things to me is if you listen to what Pete said while he was on the bike compared to the others, he said bugger all because he was absolutely concentrating on what Aaron was saying in the bike.
Yes.
You know, there was no attitude, there was no ego there. He was just riding the bike, looking ahead, listening to the coach. It was nicely focused, which I quite like.
I'm not sure what you do, Pete, but I ride on the road like no one's seen me. So, you know, that people going along, they haven't seen you, you can move, you can get out of the road.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, because let's face it, half the people haven't seen you.
Yeah, exactly, half of them haven't seen you. And at the end of the day, you're the one that gets hurt, not them, so you might as well be aware of what's going on.
Now it's time for Pete to put all that experience to the test.
He's starting to go quite quickly now.
Yeah, yes, isn't he?
Look at that.
You can see it.
He's not standing still now, is he?
No.
I think he may have done this before.
His brakes on there.
Yes,
Looks
he
like he
has.
overbraked.
He does seem to be having a bit of twitch there, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Pete, clearly in a different class there, I think, to the other guys there around Manfield, looking pretty good. A little bit of twitch in that front end. I wonder if that's just getting used to the new bike and going from, you know, reasonably...
Well, sitting upright, leaning forward, you know, without... As you said earlier, we talked about warming up, and that's part of the warming up, getting used to the dynamics of the bike.
Yeah.
Every bike is dynamically different.
And he's gone there to 6-pop front calipers with 332mm discs, you know, huge stopping power. He's had something that's had probably a reasonably casual attitude to stopping, so that probably explains that twitch.
Obviously, Pete's experience on the track impressed the judges. After a few more laps with all three of the riders, Aaron and the boys have a quick chat about some of the finer points of track riding.
So awesome day out here at Manfield, like just amazing. And Dan, you had a question before about something.
Yeah, just any more information you can tell us about, like, counter steering?
Counter steering is really funny. Everybody talks about, you know, turning opposite to turn in to do all this sort of stuff. For me, when you race a bike, when you turn into a corner, you turn right to go right. So I think the counter steering is a little bit of a myth, but when you get going faster, it comes into play, but you don't actually physically do it, or you don't mentally do it. It just happens without really realising. You slide your bum off the seat and your arms get a bit shorter or longer, and that's counter steering. But to go down the road and actually physically practice it, I think it's a bit of a myth.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'd probably respectfully disagree there, although I agree that it becomes a subconscious rather than a conscious thing, but to consciously understand what you're doing and why it's doing it, I think is important.
Yes.
I think so also, and it's not something that the average rider should totally disregard. I mean, the type of riding and the way Aaron rides on the racetrack, and perhaps even on the road where he's shifting his seat backwards and forwards because he's doing a lean-in type of cornering technique, the average rider will either stay with the bike as a lean-with, or otherwise they're going to be doing a counter steering.
I found, even though we're on a racetrack, Aaron, there's still a little bit of loose stuff and things lying around. It's a bit like, I suppose, street riding.
Yeah, I think we made mention of that when we were riding around. You know, it's a bit like the road. You're just always looking for a bit of an exit. If someone pulls out in front of you, you want an escape plan. You want to be able to stand the bike up and shoot off into the grass if you have to. Bit like on the racetrack, you go out there and have a good look around. You know, it's been a while since you've been on the track. Someone else has ridden around and someone else has fallen off, and there could be bits and pieces everywhere like we found today.
The road is very similar. You might ride a particular road every day, and then one day there's suddenly roadworks and gravel all over the road.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about the racetrack that I find so gratifying, is that once you've done 3 laps, you know it's going to be the same. You know, you can go around and around and around, and you know what's coming.
It frees up a lot of your concentration to work on basic riding, I guess.
Yeah, especially with the cornering, just making sure you brake in before you actually hit the corner rather than braking late and then hitting the corner straight away.
Yeah, well, I break a corner down into 3 steps. You know, it's entry, middle corner and exit. So you're coming down hard on the brakes, and you have the most brake pressure at that point. And from there, you're always looking at letting the brake pressure off. You're looking at the apex, then clipping the apex, and as you get to the apex, the brake's off, you're cracking the throttle, and then you're looking for the exit. And you're just rolling that throttle on, out, exiting. So that's why I break it down in three simple steps, you know, entry, middle, and exit, because there's always room to work with there. Are we going to make Dan into a super bike rider? What do you reckon?
Come on, guys.
Yeah. Needs a
honesty.
Bike and
we'll be trying really hard, and you have to get a bigger bike than I think, Dan.
Well, I can see one.
I think I'll be keeping it for a little while longer.
So now, the moment of truth. Which of our 3 riders, Dan, Jamie or Pete, have impressed the judges enough to award him this great selection of new riding gear?
We've got a pretty nice prize of a whole selection of brand new riding gear to give out. The question is, who do we give it to?
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you look at these guys, very different stages of their riding careers. You've got Pete with over 30 years, you've got Jamie with 20-odd years, and you've got Dan right at the very start. And, of course, that makes it very hard to decide where they should fit. I mean, Dan's taking all this on board, and you can see that. Jamie's, yeah, he's looking and he's listening, but I don't really see too much action. And Pete's taking it all in because he wants to learn a little bit more, but at the end of the day, there's no real quantum leap for him, is it?
Dan has actually, in my mind, come forward leaps and bounds and has a real good attitude and wanting to learn and pick up as much as he can.
Yeah. You know, if I was giving an award for the best roadcraft and the best riding technique, I'd tend towards Pete. In terms of awareness, perhaps, of one's own limitations or weaknesses, I might go Jamie. But, you know, it's as you say, Dan is at the start of his journey and potentially is the person that we want to encourage to stay a motorcyclist.
And stay alive.
Yep.
So should we choose Dan as the recipient of the prize, do you think?
Dan the man.
Dan the man.
Yep.
All right, Dan's got it. Let's hope he stays upright and stays in the...
Definitely stay safe.
Well, here he is, Dan the man, the guy the judges thought got the most out of the past 3 days and all those challenges. Do you think you got much out of it? What do you think?
Definitely. Over the last 3 days, I learned how to master my cornering, watching other people on the road and how I position myself. Not only that, other people's riding positions and how they ride on the road. I think all of this helped get my full licence.
So would you say you're riding safer now?
Yeah, it is safer, but you've always got to watch out for that, you know, danger zone there. Keep your hazards always in your eyes and just follow your mark properly.
Congratulations, Dan. Safe riding. So, after putting our 3 riders to the test, it's pretty easy to see that no matter how experienced you are, how much time you've driven out on the roads, there's always something new to learn about riding safer out there. Whether it's looking through a corner, watching out for hazards, or even as simple as warming up on the bike before you hit the streets. If you're after a bit more practice, you can always put some time in on the track, or maybe think about enrolling in a motorcycle riding school to hone up on some of those skills. Whatever you do, keep safe out there and make sure you ride forever. If you'd like any more information about the points in this video, plus a host of information about the motorcycling community in New Zealand, check out the Ride Forever website at www.rideforever.co.nz.